Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson, and today we're going to continue our lesson, and it's about solving equations with distribution. So let's get going. An equation is a mathematical sentence that uses the equal sign to show that two quantities are equal in value. A variable is a symbol or a letter that is used to represent one or more numbers. The distributive property. When a factor is multiplied by the sum of two numbers, you can multiply each of the two numbers by the factor and then add the products, such as A is being multiplied by B plus C. We're going to distribute the A times the B. That'll give us AB. And then we're going to add to that A times C, which is AC. So note, when the factor is multiplied by the difference of two numbers, you can multiply each of the two numbers by the factor and then subtract the products. So it looks like it's the same thing, but there's a minus sign here. So here we have A times B minus C. We're going to multiply A, or distribute the A times the B, which will give us AB. And then we'll multiply A times the minus C, which will give us minus AC. So that's the distributive property, something you should know. The steps for solving a multi-step equation. First, use the distributive property if necessary. Step 2, combine like terms. So if they're the same variable, just add or subtract the coefficients. Step 3, undo the addition or subtraction. Remember, additive inverse. Step 4, multiplication or division. All right, here's a problem. Solve the equation for n. 3 times n minus 2 equals 36. So we have to do our distributive property. First thing I notice, we have to multiply 3 times the n, and then 3 times the minus 2. So 3 times n will give us 3n. 3 times minus 2 will give us minus 6. And this is supposed to equal to 36. So now we're going to have an equation. Our equation would be 3n minus 6 equals 36. And that you should know how to solve. Here's a nice trick I like to use when solving these equations. And I'm going to cover up this part of the equation to see if you can use a little number sense. What number minus 6 equals 36? What number minus 6 equals 36? If you're thinking 30, 30 plus 6 is 36. So that's a minus. So what you would do is do the opposite on both sides. Instead of subtracting 6, add 6. So add 6 to both sides. So I'd have a 6 here, and that magical number I'd be looking for is 42. So the box has to be equal to 42. But instead of the box, I have a 3n. So let me bring that 3n down there. So I have a 3n instead of the box equal to 42. So now I have an equation that I can use the opposite of multiplication, which is divide by 3. So I would just divide it by 3, both sides. So let's divide by 3. And I would get my answer. So 3's cancel out. On the left side, I have n, and then I would divide this 42 by 3, and it goes 14 times. So my answer would be n is equal to 14. So that would be the way I would do it if I were using distribution. But I'm going to share with you a little secret that you also could do to save yourself a lot of time. So distributing 3 times whatever is inside the parenthesis, 3 times n, give you the 3n. 3 times the minus 2, positive 3 times minus 2 gives you the minus 6, equal 36, and do your additive inverse. Minus 6 plus 6 on both sides. 36 plus 6 is 42. The 6 is canceled out over on the left side, and divide both sides by 3, and that's how you got the 14. But as I said, I want to show you a little shortcut that'll save you a lot of time. Now, here I notice we're multiplying by 3, but I'm going to use the opposite of multiplication by 3 on both sides. So instead of multiplying by 3, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So by dividing by 3, what that does, in a sense, to the 3's, they cancel them down to 1. Some people say they cancel out, but they cancel down to 1, and 1 times n minus 2 would just be the n minus 2. So you can really say the n minus 2 is all that's left on the left side. On the right side, we have an equal sign, and the 36 divided by 3, that gave us 12. Now, I want you to look at this equation and compare all that work we had to do over here to the equation now. We had 36 minus 3n minus 6 equals 36. Compared to what number minus 2 equals 12, we can get our same answer a lot quicker. If we add 2 to both sides, add 2 to both sides, this will be a lot nicer equation to deal with. And we'll get our n equal 14 a lot faster. So you might like that method a little bit better by looking at it and dividing both sides. So that's a nice way of dealing with it. You get the same answer, but a lot less work. So here's a question for you to try. I notice we have to solve for a. Negative 7 equals 7 times a minus 3. So since we have to multiply by 7, why don't you try that little trick I said? Instead of multiplying both sides by 7, divide by 7. See if you can come up with a. I'll give you a couple seconds. All right, let's take a look. Hopefully you divided by 7 on both sides, and I'll even show you that little trick I used before with my box. By covering this up, this also helps you with the division. What number times 7 equals negative 7? Well, we know this has got to be equal to negative 1. So negative 1 times 7 has got to be that. And the question is, how did you get that negative 1, Dr. Robinson? Well, easy. I could divide both sides by 7. So if I divide this side and this side by 7, you'll see I get that -1 on this side. And on this side, I'll just have what was left inside the parenthesis, my box. And inside my box, I had a minus 3. So let's bring that down here. That was inside my box. A minus 3. So let me just add 3 to both sides. Let's clone that. My 3's will cancel out. And I'll have my A on one side. And I have my equal sign. And -1 plus 3. When the signs are different, you have to subtract. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And choose the sign of the larger digit, which is the 3. So I'll choose its sign, which is positive. So my answer would be A is equal to 2. So I think that method works really nicely. If you wanted to multiply out, you could have multiplied by distribution. 7 times A, which would give you 7A. 7 times -3 would have given you -21, and then solve it for A. That way, that's a little bit more work, but I think you might like this method. So here's a question for you. You could try either method, check your answer, see if you can get it both ways would be a good thing to do for practice. Solve for the equation for x. 2 times 5x minus 3 equals 14. Sorry about that. Check your understanding. Make sure you understand it. If you're still uncertain, write down your questions. Bring them in tomorrow. I'll be glad to answer them for you. Here's where we're going next, where we're going to be dealing with more than one variable at a time to solve it. So 1/4 of k minus k equals -12. What do you think that is? So we have to deal with the same number, 1/4 of that number, and we're subtracting that same number, and it equals -12. Wow, we're in for a treat. So that concludes our lesson. So I hope you got something out of it. This is Dr. Robinson signing off again. Remember, bring your questions in. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.